All right, Jonathan.
There.
Just like that.
Marcus.
Just like that, you appear before me.
Just like that.
Yeah, just like that. So, Jonathan, we've known each other a little while now, good couple of years. And, yeah, I know you're just back in your side of town or your side of the world, down there in, what part? It's not Avon. No, it's in Somerset, is it?
Somerset.
Is it Somerset?
Yeah, Somerset.
Yeah, just want to hear your story because I don't really know it. I got to know you little bits over the years, but don't really know much about you.
Okay.
Where did it start? Where were you born?
How much time have we got?
Well, just a synopsis.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people say, I mean, I've been living in the West Country for more than 2 decades, but a lot of people say, even where I am now, they say, oh, you're not from round here,
No,
are
you don't sound like a local, do you?
Yeah, you're not from round here. So my story starts in the northwest part of London.
Okay. What areas?
Born in Islington, raised in Camden.
Oh wow!
Spent some time living in Hackney. So
yeah.
between those three boroughs, Camden, Islington, Hackney. They're kind of like, I would say, my kind of growing up patches.
Yeah. Of course, London was a different place back then, probably 20 years ago.
It's quite different. Things change, don't they? You know, I've been back a few times recently, and you know, and a lot of people have moved out of the area, and there's lots of new buildings and new developments, and it's it's a bit more faster paced than it was back in the 80s, 90s. You know, turn of the millennium. Yeah.
Wow. And so, I mean, what's your story? You know, you don't have to talk about it if you don't want to, but
my family, small family. I'm not like, you know, I've got friends that went to school with and hung with, had aunties, uncles, cousins on every block. Our family was small. It was me, my younger brother, my mum, and my dad.
Wow.
My mum, she went out and she worked. She had a good job, and my dad tried, you know. But we were a small family. There was some distant relatives on my mother's side in the north part of England, but we lived in. It was quite an interesting setup. I spoke a little bit about this. Because you are sort of how you're bred, aren't you? You are, you know, the person I am today. We were brought up with good values. You know, my mum taught us at a young age, please and thank yous and politeness and respect and courtesy. They were simple things that we were taught, me and my younger brother. But we lived in an area which I go to see today, and it's a middle class area. It's you know, it's quite affluent, and we lived at a house which is a big sort of monster sized house, and we lived in the top, which there was a flat which is kind of built into the roof kind of space. But at the bigger, it's a massive house. So there was a 2-bedroom flat that was built, and it probably would have been the servants' quarters, because it was one of those big houses in northwest London.
Toilet paper, please.
The front door was like big enough for giants. It was massive front door, and as you went up the house, each flat, the ceiling got lower and lower and lower. So the first flat downstairs was massive high ceilings, and then you kept going up, and we were right in sort of the roof kind of attic space. It was quite a small environment, and but we just got on with life. Like we say, the routine of you know, school, getting picked up, you know, getting dropped off, school, mum, her work, you know, dad kind of like, he was quite a quiet guy, and we did all right. I mean, there was, you know, we were in a position where food was always on the table. Like my mum, she had a pretty good job. She was a teacher. She was a head teacher of a infant school.
Oh, wow.
So she had kind of she'd worked her way through the sort of the ranks into a good position, and so she was a good breadwinner.
Yeah.
So we always had.
Was she the breadwinner at home?
She was, yeah. She was, yeah.
Was
my dad tried. He was an architect. He got a diploma in architecture, and he studied hard, and he always had drawings and model things all left around the flat, and he had a couple of jobs where he did okay, but I think with architecture, it's like it's like with like being an artist, isn't it?
You've got to have luck as well.
In the right place at the right time, and your work then gets purchased, and and it only happened a couple of times. So the real daily bread, if you want to call it that, was coming in from mum. So
wow. Interesting.
But we did all right. We lived in this area. It's just this big posh house right at the top. But we went to school in quite a rough area. When I say rough area, but it was an area where you had to sort of learn to be one of the lads. You had to learn how to look after yourself. So we kind of travelled a couple of miles from where we lived to like where my mum worked, and then when we went to school. So socially, I was always someone that kind of knew quite a lot of people. I was a kid that a lot of kids kind of respected.
Good at networking and stuff.
Networking and so that sort of thing. And that's what I enjoyed. I enjoyed my early days were about enjoying the sort of social aspect of wanting to be one of the lads.
So you didn't feel not one of these people that felt different from an early age. You were uncomfortable sociably. You wanted to be stuck in with the pals.
Wanted to be there. I wanted to be there round and about with the kids. The kids who were wearing the, it was the days of like
the high tops.
Well, I tell you what, there's a Sergio. I'll give my age away.
Sergio Tacchini.
Sergio Tacchini. Tacchini, or however you want to pronounce it. Fila.
Yes.
You know what? I was lucky. I'll share this one actually online. It's like I was fortunate because there was a pair of gold stripe. Beyond Borg, there were Diora trainers.
Oh,
and
right.
They were like, if you had those trainers, then you were really it. You were in. You were like one of them.
You knew what's up.
My mum was able to afford, and I got these trainers. I might have been for a birthday or something, but the gold stripe, because you had the silver.
Yeah, everyone had the silver, right? You had the gold. Whoa, where'd you get them?
And then if you had the Beyond Borg tracksuit as well, or the Sergio Tacchini.
Did you have the whole garments, man?
I had do you know what? I was probably quite a sport kid thinking about it. I can remember having a Fila tracksuit, a Sergio Tacchini, and the the Beyond Borg, the Diodora trainers.
Wow. So. God, that's cool. So when did you move out of London then?
It would have been late 90s, early millennium. I think I've lived half of my life in London, my first half of my life in London, and the other half in the West Country.
Yeah.
So
and that was
about sort of 25 or so. Yeah.
And why the West Country of all places?
Well, I ended up getting into some trouble. I got into some trouble. It was all a bit of a thing. It was, where my life took me was I was gravitating towards people who were, let's just say, criminally minded. What we used to learn how to make money without having to go to work and do sort of make money in sort of other ways and stuff. And I just gravitated to those types of people. And then there was, where we were sort of going out partying and stuff like that, there was a big kind of acid house rave movement. You remember the big raves and stuff like that, aircraft hangars and
good times, man.
They were fun times. So
did that become too much, do you think? Or you were just enjoying yourself?
Well, of course. I mean, everything is doing everything to excess. Of course, it became too much in the end. At the beginning, it was fun.
It's fun in the beginning, but it's pain in the end.
In the end,
I don't know what rap that comes from, but it's a damn good one. It's a nice lyric.
Yeah. So, I did a little bit of time, and then there was an offer for me to get. So I'd kind of sort of said, look, I'm kind of overdoing it a little bit too much with my consumption, and then there was an opportunity for me to go to this treatment centre, and this treatment centre, which is closed now, but it was a very well known one in the West Country.
Wow.
And I got an opportunity to go there, and they, where I was living at the time, sort of said we'll fund it and stuff like that, and it just happens to be that it was in the West Country near Bristol Airport, a little village called Rington.
Okay.
So I got an opportunity to go there. In fact, I went there twice.
Okay.
The first time it was like, it wasn't really. It was like get away from a bit of time and stuff like that. Condition of residency for me to be there
was clean and sober.
Yeah, I had to stay there. Otherwise, it was like a condition.
Okay, you had to stay physically there?
Yeah. So I completed the 3 months and then went to a place back in London. And of course, I was still involved in hooky.
Put you back in the old.
Yeah, but straight back into the fire. So
Huh. So, well, that's interesting, and that's why you gravitate back to the West Country.
And then, I went back there again. But the second time I went there, so like, actually, I
wanted to.
I want to make a change. Yeah, I've kind of had enough of this lifestyle.
Was it the criminality or the drugs or all of it?
It was all of it. Yeah. The whole thing. Wow. Yeah, the whole thing. Huh. I mean, it was just I think where I'd come from, I think as I got a little bit older, was sort of starting to realise that actually I wasn't doing myself justice. I sort of, not that I had there wasn't lots and lots of opportunity. It wasn't like silver. We weren't brought up with silver spoon, but we weren't like a poor family. At the same time, we weren't a family that lacked. So I really was probably realising that I shouldn't be getting into trouble.
Yeah, the conscious.
Do you know what I mean? And I shouldn't be partying the way that I am, and like my consumption of chemicals and stuff like that. It just wasn't something that I knew that I was kind of designed for a bit more. Yeah. And so I just was given an opportunity, and that opportunity was like, you can go back. And it just happened to be that it was in the West Country. Wow. And there was loads of Londoners. It was like,
really?
Yeah, lots and lots of Londoners that were there. So you kind of felt at home. You're like, this is all new to me. Never heard of Bristol before. I mean, Bristol for me would be, you
might
think
about
been
Glasgow.
Exactly. Like but there was the thing, farmers, and it was kind of like, it looked at as very rural. I didn't know anything about the city, Bristol city. So it was all very new. And the second time I went back to this centre, I came out and I was then offered to go to somewhere else, which was actually in Bristol. Okay. A lovely place, which again is shut down now, but I'm still in contact with the chap. Yeah. His mum's passed away, but they had this all men's centre, and I went there and I never looked back. And there was other people that did the same thing, and it was like, I really like it here. Before you know it, you just got a new environment and new friends, new playmates, and I was impressed with quite a few things. It was like, it was clean. There was like the energy felt good, and it was still a city. Yeah. So it just wasn't as big as London, and it was kind of a new
experience, a new adventure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so this is in your early days of wanting to stop, right?
This is like the millennium, early millennium. My early days of wanting. Yeah. My first sort of, if you want to, let's use the terminology, dipping your toe in the water. Yeah. Dipping my toe in the water.
Of recovery or of using?
Recovery.
Okay,
yeah. Recovery. Yeah.
So dipping your toe out of the water, maybe.
Whichever way you want to look at it. Yeah.
No, being.
Yeah, I wanted to find out. And I seen people. I heard a message. I've seen people that were living sober, and
happy,
you know,
and
happy, productive and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, yeah.
Wow. Was it an easy choice to make? Because, you know, some people, their lifestyle I've had on the show got so bad there was no other option. It was die or get in the boat. And other people have kind of just fallen into it and then thought, actually, this is much better than how I was living.
Yeah.
Where would you? How did it work for you?
Yeah.
Was it necessity or
when I came back the second time, my life was not. It wasn't very good. I had this little flat in Stoke Newington in Hackney. I wasn't in very good. I wasn't in a good place at all. My life, it was like a revolving door. It was like, you know, trying to get clean, trying to get sober, and then sort of drinking again. You know, back out there again, and I wasn't going anywhere. So I had to make a change. So when I came back to the West Country, it was like, you know, I was given an opportunity, and I meant business. So, yeah.
So
I wasn't. It wasn't like I was leaving lots. It was like other people had moved away, friends, and because of what happened, you know, after I was incarcerated, it just sort of like things changed.
So were you in? I didn't realize you were incarcerated. Was that for a short period or?
Yeah, just for it was a short period of time. It was like it was enough to give me a slap,
a taster, and go. Is this what you want for the rest of your life?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just it was a taster of, I don't want this.
Yeah, you're done with that.
It was just it was a tough time, but it kind of taught me a lesson as well. Taught me that wasn't the way that I wanted to go.
Yeah, well, it was a decision, and I guess did you see getting off the drink and drugs as part of that? Is like,
absolutely,
got to make a change.
Absolutely, 100%.
Wow. So how did it come about where you go to your first meeting or fellowship group? How did that? You know, I suppose as part of the residential regime.
They used to, they used to take us out, and they used to take us out to meetings and stuff like that. And my first meeting, I think, was it was a fellowship meeting, and it was I think it was the late 90s.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was my my very first meeting, and then I went to a convention. I had a little bit of success with like being sober and stuff for a short period of time. But had no idea as to you know what it actually means to actually stay sober.
Because they say stopping is easy; it's staying stopped.
It's the staying stopped. It's the staying stopped. So I was a young man. It's 26 years ago. I was a young man, and all I knew was I felt an energy. I felt a vibe. People say just don't take the first one. You know, it's abstinence, and that is the way forward. And I've been in centres, and it was like abstinence. So I was like, okay, go along with that. So got my first little bit of abstinence time, and it was nice. I enjoyed it. It was
first time in years, probably, was it?
In a long time. Yeah. I mean, my mum used to say this thing, right? She used to say, I always know when you're good. I'll never forget. My mum's passed now. She used to say, I always know when you're good because I can see the whites in your eyes. So meaning that like if I'd been at it,
you'd be like
my but my eyes were like sort of, you know, bit. I'd be tired, tired and sort of. So when she's got like I can see it in your eyes. The eyes, the window to the soul.
It's the soul, isn't it?
So she could tell if I had been at it. So when I got this bit of sober time, it was like she was like, "Yeah, I can see your eyes. Your eyes look good." Do you know what I mean? Your eyes look clear, sort of thing. So that was one of my mum's sort of.
That's a magical thing.
Yeah,
a nice thing to remember. Yeah.
So it felt right. It felt good. I enjoyed it, but there's a but. I mean, at that stage, I'm nowhere near like my understanding that I have now.
After how many years this time?
Well, if you look at that was 1999. Okay.
Yeah.
That was my first experience of 12-step recovery, abstinence. Okay, that was my first experience, my first taster. And if I look at that now, and then I look at the starting point of actually making a decision that I want to stop and stay stopped, and then I look at my starting point 2018, which is what now, as I'm sitting here now, it's chalk and cheese in terms of the
quality of your sobriety.
Not just the quality, but the understanding of what it takes and what it means, and my level of what's called surrender.
Wow, this is interesting stuff.
Well, yeah, because I was in my early 20s. There was still mileage. There was still
to be done.
I still had more time out there to come. Yeah. I mean,
I guess you're not done until you're done, right?
Not done until you're done. I mean, my story was that, you know, it took a lot. It took a lot for me to get to the place where I was really, really licked. Yeah. It took that point there, and then this point there, this could be over a period of 17, 18 years.
Flipping out.
Of getting sober, okay, wanting to be sober. Yeah. But then the fateful day came where the experimentation, and that.
What can I do this and not do that?
Well, I think deep down, I think I spoke to you about it earlier. Deep down, I didn't truly believe that I couldn't do it. That
you could do it.
I don't know. I didn't believe that I couldn't get away with it. That I could basically. I believed that I could have periods of time off. Yeah. And then periods of time.
This is a powerful message, because it's a ominous warning tale to people. Because you had how many years before the first?
When I went, it's like my cycle was like I had this cycle of like three years. I had 3 years when I went back, and then
3 years back out,
and then I was out for sort of a couple. Yeah. And then I had another three and a half.
Such a painful way to live. I can imagine.
And then it was out for like drinking and using for another year and a half, and then getting sober again. And at that point, that's when my mum passed, and that was quite a changing experience, because there was so much emotion. My mum was a pivotal person in my life, and then what I went through with my brother, and my dad had already passed. My dad had passed in 2004. So when my mum passed in 2012, it was it was a hard thing to try. And of course, I didn't have like the solid sobriety, the recovery that I have now. So of course, it was very easy for me to medicate the feelings and the pain.
And I don't think you can blame yourself for that, because that's one of the toughest things you can go through, isn't it?
It is, but I kid you not, today.
Yeah, I can see that in you.
No, just look like... there wouldn't be anything that where I'm like literally perched on a rock. On a you know, when I say like
rock, not a little pebble. You're not balancing on a pebble.
So I should really rephrase that, shouldn't I? Because someone could take that the wrong way. Perched on. So in the scriptures is that the Messiah, who I call Yahuah, the Messiah, he says that I'm going to build my house on this rock. Yeah. He's talking about the solid corner, solid foundation for building. The building of.
You can't build a building in a marsh, can you?
Exactly.
It's got to be.
And that's what I did.
Is that what was different between your first recovery, second recovery, and now?
100%.
Is
100%.
What made that change then?
I didn't have the cornerstone. The cornerstone.
What is the cornerstone for you?
The cornerstone for me is the first piece. So I see that recovery today is like you could equate it to building a house. Okay, the first piece that goes in on the building, of course, once you've built the foundation. So the foundation was being built over many years of me trying to see whether I could do it my way, trying to see whether I could get away with it. The foundation was being dug out, and the first piece, once the foundation is all laid, the first piece is the cornerstone.
That's what supports the weight.
That's the first piece that everything is built on that. Now, in the literature that I became studied on, like the big book, it talks about an arch, building an arch to freedom. It talks about the cornerstone being the first piece.
Wow, okay.
The cornerstone. And then a cornerstone, so we've got an arch, we've got two cornerstones on the side, and then a keystone holds the arch together.
Holds at the top, doesn't it?
Yeah. So if I'm trying to put this arch together, and there's not solid cement in the foundation, if I haven't
doubt. And that could be doubt, it could be
reservations, don't truly believe,
not strong enough higher power for yourself. I'm guessing.
I didn't fully believe that I had a problem with alcohol. I didn't fully believe it. I believed that I could. It was a lie. I believed that I could go and engage, and then see. I learned a little bit about the 12 steps along the way, and I learned that the way that the steps were taken, the way that they were applied, were pretty quick, rapid. Desperation of a drowning man I'd experienced along the way, where we kind of came together. There was a little group of us, and then we started to go through this process. There were speakers that were coming. Funny enough, in this town at the moment, there was a buzz here in other places in England, Bournemouth and Brighton, and a fellowship was kind of formed from that thing of like, you come in and you go through the work, you go through the steps, you have what's called a spiritual awakening. Yeah. And what happened was, because I didn't have this solid, this foundation, this cornerstone, I was going through the steps with a delusional,
committed. Do the step work, going through the motions, basically.
Yeah, but not just that, but also believing that if I wanted to go and have some time off, I could just come back,
take a holiday,
and then just go through the steps.
Yeah, and then be back to where you were.
Be back to where I was. Yeah. So, although I do believe in the philosophy of how the steps are taken, in some ways there was a little bit of a dangerous. There was a danger for someone like me, because what it did was it led me into a false perception that I could go away, pick up.
How did it lead you to
and then
that?
I could just come back and just go through the steps quickly, get connected.
Oh, like you can just a quick repair kit. Do my steps and then I'll be sorted.
Sorted again, yeah.
Go and have a wicked holiday, come back and I'll be sorted.
There you go. Do the steps and I'll be
happy Larry again.
Because it was, I see people getting better quick, and I said I didn't have the first step that I've got now, and that took a long time. So there was many ideas. But every time I went with that idea, I always ended up in a really bad situation.
When you say ideas, in what way?
But the idea that I could just sort of have some time off from sobriety, it always ended up in a bad situation.
Well, but I guess because you're an addict, that's the story. You couldn't just have some time off. You'd go and smash it to pieces. Right?
It was and it was full flight. So
interesting. But what's really interesting is how you needed to have that 3 years relapse, 3 years relapse, and now to get to where you are now, you've kind of smashed it up, the foundation, said, let's do it again, and then smashed it up, so, and now you're like, now I now understand. These cornerstones got to be properly dug in, proper. Yeah. Before you can build your... Is that right, or am I putting words in your mouth?
Yeah. Well, it says, if a man can say that he is willing to believe, or he does believe, we emphatically ensure him that he's on his way. Upon this simple cornerstone, a wonderfully effective spiritual structure can be built. So this was programmed into my mind over many years. This is the qualification question for the second step. The second step is my solution, is my power. So I don't have any power in the first step. The second step is my solution. So what happened is that all of that battering and and me getting to a place where I hit the lowest point of my life, it all happened for a reason. It all happened for a reason, so that I came to believe, I've come to believe in the power that's pulled my life back from the pit where it was. Yeah. So it's all about belief
and faith.
Faith, yeah. Without
to
faith,
believe in something you can't see, taste, or touch, you need faith.
No human power. It says in the program. It says no human power can relieve our addiction. No human power. So it was always programmed into me, and I never lost. I never lost hope. I never lost, and even if it was a mustard seed, a little small.
Yeah.
I never lost it.
The hope.
I never lost hope, because I could see it in other people. What really happened for me was I ended up losing everything,
and you lost everything, didn't you?
Yeah, no, everything. Everything.
Yeah.
Like it was an experience that I never believed I would ever experience, and that's the reason why I didn't have the first step. Because because I didn't believe that it would happen. So what happened was, underneath it there was an undercurrent of me believing that I had some control, that I had some control and that I had some choice. Once I believed I had control and choice, as I was going on my process, I wasn't submitted. The second phase of the program, the second step, is submission. So I've submitted myself to this power, which does for me what I can't do for myself. And I didn't fully submit myself to the power because I didn't fully believe that I needed it.
So you were holding a bit back.
I was holding a bit back.
I believe in it, but I'm still going to kind of run the show a little bit.
Exactly.
And that was what got you each time, because you punched yourself in the head.
Exactly. So I was taking, it was all being taken up. The process was being watered down. You know, a guy said to me one time, he said to me, it was a beautiful statement, and it really resonated. He said to me, you know what you need to do? You need to, quote unquote, give up your life. The reason I say that is because I'm seeing it at the moment with people that I'm trying to help, and I remember where I used to be. You need to give up your life. Steps 1, 2, and 3. Give up your life. Stop trying to do the work. Stop trying to have the girlfriend. Stop trying to run around and do this, that, that. What you need to do is focus on getting better. Focus on this power, the power that we find through this process. Nothing else. 100. And he was right, but I wasn't ready when he said that to me. I wasn't ready to do that.
Kind of truth.
It was true. It was true, because I was always trying to run around and do this and do that.
I got
always got something to do. Always got something better to do.
How did this magical transformation happen? Because you're looking like a completely different guy in your confidence and your sobriety than the guy I knew 4 or 5 years ago.
Well, what happened was, along the way, I became a student of the steps, and I became interested, especially after we had a little fellowship form. It was quite a powerful thing, There were people that were around in them time. It was a special connection that we formed, because without trying to, sort of like put ourselves on any type of like high platform, we were the start of a fellowship, and a fellowship that grew. There was a fellowship
within a
down.
fellowship.
Yeah, there was a fellowship within a fellowship in the town where we were.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
in the town where we were, it started. There was one meeting at the time, and then we got this shown about this, this process, this program. There were American speakers that were kind of inspiring everyone. The big book came down, and we started going through the steps, and we went through the steps and started taking other people through.
Okay, wow, this is interesting. So, like, in your own way of doing it, kind of thing, is that right?
Not really. No, we were doing it as it was prescribed in the literature.
Right. Okay. What was different in your fellowship within a fellowship? That's the bit I'm trying to understand. What was different, rather than
it was more about the town and the area where it wasn't really different, like fellowship within a fellowship, but the town where we were. We were doing the work in a maybe a slightly different way from, say, for instance, how they were doing it in Brighton, or maybe how they were doing it in Bournemouth
or London or
London. But these were areas that experienced a sort of rapid growth. There was rapid growth because people were getting lit up and having spiritual experiences and awakenings. And we were just there at the time. We didn't really know what we were doing, but we were just like, there was a buzz, and I always sort of gravitated to love the writing in the book, and so I was there, and people just used to gravitate to me, and I used to love being sort of that advisor, if you want to call it that, and just guiding people through the process. And then they went through, and then other people went through, and before you know it, like there's one meeting, and then before you know it, there's like a meeting every single day. And in that particular town now, I believe there's about 50 meetings now.
Wow. So you guys just like breathed the life into this thing.
we were there at the time. We were just being used by the Most High as vessels and to bring the message. And everything that you do with the steps is all experience. You never lose. Like, although it wasn't my journey to sort of stay sober and stay clean and sober, like for all that time, and everything that I learned through good sponsorship, and so I was always interested in listening to people that I looked up to. Like there was American circuit speakers. I listened to loads and loads of this stuff, and I learned a lot about what they were talking. They were talking about this spirit, this power, and how this spiritual awakening. So I learned, and so like my falling was really, in some ways I was being made my yes, because I was having what's called, there was an old sponsor. He's one of the old timers in LA, and like in the fellowship I'm talking about, and he helped me for a while, and I've had lots of different sponsors, and he used to say to me, "You're having an experience, man." So what he was talking about was, although you're out, and you're in it, you're having an experience with the first step. An experience. So that experience with the first step for me, but because of the type that I am, that happened over a number of years, which had to manifest for me to get to the point where I surrendered in the way that I did, and I sought the power. See, the thing is that it was explaining that no human power could help me, and I understood that it was etched into my psyche. So me going out, I was getting a deeper and a stronger first step. So, like, although it seems a bit, I
didn't think of it
I was
that
getting there was a positive that came from the negative.
So people look at it as, oh, you screwed up 3 times, and someone else could say, or 2 times, and someone else could say, no, I've actually grown twice.
Well,
that's why I'm stronger.
Well, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
You can see it. Exactly. There's different ways to look at it, but what happened was, it basically pushed me to seek the power like never before. The process was all about seeking and accessing power. That's what I was taught. And that's what I was teaching other people. So in the end, all that good teaching that I gave to other people, and I'm talking about, it was a lot. I know I'm not even gonna, it was a lot. I took a lot of people through the process, and then people would know me for that. Oh, you know, I learned all of the stuff about the process, and it was by doing that. So when it was my time, and I got that first step, it was about applying all that great stuff that helped others, and all
that knowledge you'd built up, you got to actually say, right, I'm going to use this stuff for me. Stop fixing someone else's kitchen. I'm going to fix my own today.
So it was already etched into me. Like the mindset is that you need to find this power. You know, the first step was the admission, I have no power. The second step was the willingness to believe that there is something greater than me. I needed that power. The third step was a decision to go forward. And then 4 to 12 was basically getting me out of the way and catapulting into a new. So I had such a profound spiritual awakening. The way that I went through the steps was the original way that because I had learned about the retreats over the years as well. And I'd started to go to the retreats, which were there was an area in America, Cleveland. Which Dr. Bob was hanging out with people like Clarence Snyder and these guys, and I'd heard about them over the years, and I'd heard so much good stuff, and I went to a C of E school, so I had no problem with believing in a Messiah, the Son of Man. I had absolutely no problem at all. And I was intrigued because I'd seen it was talking about the scriptures. It was talking about, faith. And So I've got to go and I've got to experience it. And I went along. I think my first retreat that I went to was in, I think it was 2010, something like that. It was in Liverpool.
Wow.
And there was a few of the gang from Bristol that we'd all gone up together. And there's a few people that are still around now, but there are a lot of them now, believers. It's like what Clarence said, that in the fellowships you've got the believers, and what believer is basically believing in the Son of Man.
Okay.
It says in Scripture, he who believes in the Son will be set free. If you believe in me, this is where it was all about believing in him, so that I could overcome and actually receive his Spirit. And I went on a few retreats, and although it wasn't my time to get what I've got now, again, it was more that was sinking in, because they were showing me the way that these steps were laid out in the beginning was you take the steps over the weekend. We used to take steps 1 to 8, and then you're left with, you've got a list of people that you've harmed. Okay, after you've had this experience, you've been down, you've been praying, you've been reading the scriptures, you've been you've done an inventory, you've shared it with someone, you've got down and asked for your shortcomings to be removed, and now you've got a list of people that you've harmed, which has come out of this piece of work. You got to go and see people. You've got to go and do this work. And I'd experienced it, and I knew that there was something special, because I'd also studied and found out that that's what they were doing in the beginning, and they had really high success rates. So I was already programmed that's how
you should be doing,
and that's what I was going to do, because that was like my journey. Because when I got that all important, real solid awakening of, do you know what, mate? You can't beat this. It's going to beat you. I really got it on a real deep level. And so all them years, I never had it. And then I got it, and I felt it.
And you're like, wow, this feels different.
It felt very different.
Wow, well, really interesting to hear.
I still launched out into a course of vigorous action. My first day, I was on my knees. The guy that I was with, this is a true story. He helped me, guided me. A year and a half before, I'd guided him through the process.
Oh wow, how beautiful!
We got a beautiful relationship. So he was around a long time, but it was called untreated. Untreated is that being around, but not actually having any spirit, not actually doing any work, being full of fear, resentment, anxious, depressed. It's an internal problem.
Living in the
a spiritual ism, malady-ism, whatever you want to call it. Someone can be sober for a long time, but then become what's called a dry drunk. And this guy had quite a lot of
people around.
A lot, mate, a lot. So I'd sort of seen him, and he was in a bad place, and I said to him, "Hey, look, you got to do this work. You got to do this work," because I'm confident, because I've basically gone through this process, a simple process. I don't complicate it. It's really simple. It's so simple. It's frighteningly simple, but not easy.
No.
Simple, but not easy. But I told him about it. I said, look, gave him a little bit of hope. So the next case was like, I spent probably, I don't know, a week to 2 weeks. I stayed at his house. This is in my little interim period where I didn't actually have my own place. And I stayed at his house, and we went through the program, and he went through it with depth and weight. And he recovered. I think he's just celebrated eight. That was 8 years ago.
Jeez.
But it wasn't my time. But I went through with urgency. We went through this process, this outlined, and he got better. And he's still growing in his own way, and his own faith. But we did the work. Boom, boom. And then I was in trouble. And then he was in a position where he'd had an experience. And then I said, look, I was just broken. He said, come. I went to his house.
Was it hard to tell him, guess what, I fucked up?
Not really, no, because he'd seen me sort of in action previously. So it wasn't really hard to tell him. But he just said, look, come. And he just the thing is, he's a man after my own. He understands the simplicity, but the action, these actions are important. You've got to do these actions to connect to this power. So it's sort of, I use it as an analogy of the tunnel. I'm in a dark place here. There's light at the end of the tunnel.
But you got to
go,
keep
got
on
to do the
chugging.
work to go through to the other side, to the light. Step 1 through 12.
Yeah.
And we did the work. And I think my first day, it was an 8-hour shift.
Jeez.
We started at 10 o'clock in the morning, tears pouring out of me. You know, I'm about 15 and a bit stoned now. I was probably about 12. You know, it was like Bill talked about it. You know, 40 pounds or so underweight. I was in a bit of a, you know, really ill and not in a good place. And we started in the morning on my knees. Start with something called the surrender prayer, and the surrender prayer was something that another guy who's a believer showed me the power of this prayer is to surrender. This is what they used to do in the beginning.
Yeah.
In the early days, and Clarence and Bob, they used to grab the newcomers over and they'd have them over to their house and be on their knees, and it'll be surrender. So you'd surrender to the Most High, and you'd surrender on your knees, and there'd be prayer, and it would be like powerful. There was no, you know, it wasn't
real powerful experience.
Yeah. So he
so
showed
letting them
me
almost
this.
the newcomer feel the power.
Yeah,
To
I
think,
mean,
I actually felt that.
I've been shocked a couple of times. I've done this prayer, this surrender prayer, and I just feel my spirit lifted. I feel my spirit like just totally lifted just by saying this prayer. So we started the process with that prayer. And then I already could feel, and I knew I meant business. So we started with that prayer. 2, I was broken, willing to believe. 3, made a decision. And then you say, well, 4, I've done this work before. Well, we're using something called a Joe and Charlie, that it was kind of the method, which was 5-column inventory, looking at me, ultimately looking at me, resentment, listing the name, the cause, what's affected, and then what's my part, my character shortcomings. I listed the first three columns, did that work probably about 2 hours, and it was an inventory which was suffice. Like it was, forget about what I'd done previously, it didn't matter, because that's when I was really meant it, and I was so sincere in my approach to this work. And so I listed everything. I listed my fears, sex, harm, as you do. And I shared it with him straight away. There was no pausing or no gaps or anything. So I shared it with him there. Boom. So I did the 4, so 4, 5, and then we read out the 5s, another couple of 2.5 hours, a couple of breaks for, cigarette and, coffee and whatnot. But at the end of it, it was like,
wow, one day, got you realigned and rebooted and ready.
Yeah, well, I want to share this because it's important, because we finished the 5, and then 6 has said, look, spend an hour. Step 6, are you ready? Are you now entirely ready to let the Most High remove all of your shortcomings? Okay, so it said, are you entirely ready? And I know at that point I was entirely ready. I was broken. I meant business. So we got onto our knees, and then we said the 7th step prayer. Now, as I'd been around a little while, I started to learn that the prayers that they were using in Cleveland, the prayers, faith-based prayers, were including the names that come from the scriptures. And so when I went through the work, that was because I knew, I believed, and so the power was in the name. I called on the name of Jesus, and I called on the name of Yahuah. But as I was doing this work, that's what they were doing in those camps in AA.
Yeah.
I said the prayers, so it was the same with the 7th step prayer. It was calling upon the name. So I went through, did that, I was on my knees, and I did the prayer, and that was probably about 6-7 hours later, and then I had this list that had come out from the work, and I think it may have even been that same night that I sent a text message to prepare myself for the next morning for contacting someone that I needed to contact to make amends to. But I got up the next morning after that 8-hour shift, and I already had hope the next morning, and then I started to contact people off of this list.
Wow.
People that I owed money to, people that I needed, even if it was just checking in. I started it, and I kept pushing it. I kept doing it, action. And then about 3 days later, I think I got given a space in a house in the town where I live now in Weston, and I'd already had a spiritual experience. I'd already had a really powerful.
Wow.
I'd probably gone, if not halfway through, 30 to 40% through my amends list 3-4 days in. Now people can tell myself, you can't do the work like that. But I already knew that happened. I wanted to have that experience.
You wanted to keep it going,
I'm telling you this. I was a week. I kept pressing in. I was. I'd made sacrifices, like come off of social media, all that distraction, the stuff that was distracting me, Messenger, all the stuff that was,
because you just needed time to
focus, just focus on this,
yourself.
getting through this tunnel. And I remember being 30 days. I was sent and I was telling people the good news, but people could feel it.
Yeah.
I'd already been lit up. I was lit up.
Yeah.
Now you could argue I said I've been lit up previously. Yes, I had, but now there was a depth, which was
depth and some weight.
There was depth in the in I understood categorically that I couldn't mess about, and I understood that sobriety was the only way, and there wasn't any. Having a little, it had gone, the reservation had gone.
Yeah.
There's no more sort of like, go off and you can go off and get away with this and then come back. It was gone. So when I went through the work like that, proving that that the first 2 steps were in place, the cornerstone was in place, meaning that as I went through the work like that, it didn't matter whether it took days or weeks. But I believe that there's the reason they laid it out like that simply was that self starts to come back. Ego, self, very quickly.
Yeah.
But I got through the work before ego came back. So I got the power on board before my ego had kicked in.
That's some mad shit.
Bruv, I'm telling you.
But that is a strategy, right? For you?
Well, I'd seen it before in others. I understood the concept that it was laid out to be done before you get to a point where you're like,
yeah, actually, I'm feeling all right. I haven't been doing anything for a while.
So I truly believe that when I look, I had the full power, man. I had the full power. And all that learning, I experienced the full power because as a believer, there's something called the infilling of the spirit. Yeah. Now, if I understand, like my body's a temple. When they originally had this process formed, it was a lot of it was to do with faith, belief. It was to do with being born again, and then my walk went even closer to the Most High. He said, you need to be born again. You need to be immersed in water. You need, and my walk now has been about my spirit and my spirit being my cup being full. And so it's totally different from the times where, I believe the Father Yahuah has delivered me, and He's shown me His power through me believing in Him, calling upon His name, doing the work and the action, really waving the white flag.
Yeah.
The power's come. So everything that's happened, and as I sit here now today, I'm not operating. Because I asked for the power to come, and it came. I called upon the names, and the power came, and then I rocketed like a rocket launcher through that process, which cleansed me and got me connected. And then I was able to, and then I spent a good few years. Like I took a lot of, again, but it wasn't just like, other people. It's not ego in that. It's that like I needed to do that to grow spiritually.
Yeah.
I needed to do that to grow spiritually. As time's gone on, it's like, it's not as intense, but in the early first few years, it was intense. And I still work with people in the same way. But it's just a lot less people because my need isn't as great as it was then. I mean, I now, I still have a strong connection to my first step. But the reason I say that is because I'm grounded in the second step. The second step is what's going to keep me on a good path. And the Father, my Heavenly Father, my Creator, my higher power is my number one priority. Comes before everything. I've got 2 daughters, 2 beautiful daughters. My higher power, the Father comes before everything. Friends, everything. Wow. And with that, that's where I feel that I maybe miss, and I see other people who maybe need to have that understanding. They miss that point, is that what comes first, what's my priority is, because He provides me with everything. He provided me with the power to recreate my life, and even under the town where I've lived, because of all that learning over the years. I came into a town, and of course they didn't know me, and because they didn't know me, like they didn't know all that history I told you, and all that learning and all that, and so although if you looked at it from a clean time perspective, I was just the same as the next man. But I wasn't really, because I wasn't really a newcomer.
You got a lot of experience.
Because I got a lot of experience.
Yeah.
So I started to apply the knowledge and experience, whereas someone else is maybe still learning. So it maybe ruffled a few feathers of the old timers who do things in their set way,
the way they like it.
which works for them. So it kind of maybe separated me from like Bill. But I think, if people can appreciate that, everyone's on their path and
Everyone's
their journey,
got their own beliefs and methods.
Yeah,
there's no right way. What's right for you, perfectly right for you, might not work for me or for someone else. But
but I now know that I have to retain. This is the message that I retain, and this is the message that I send to other people. And that's all I've got. I've got what was given to me, what's worked for me. I share that with others.
So what would you say to someone, let's say, who's done a similar thing? They've been in for a number of years, had a relapse or whatever. And I think some of those people, maybe from the stories I've heard, they don't come back because of shame or ego. Or, what's your advice to someone out there listening to this with interest and thinking, oh, maybe I should get back in the boat?
Well, I'd say don't ever give up hope. Never give up hope, right? That's one thing. Always keep hope. The fact that you can see other people, listen to my testimony and my journey. One thing I would say is that where I feel fortunate that my mindset. Someone said to me before, "You've got a 12-step mindset."
Yeah,
I was passionate. Myself. It was me. But the sponsors and everything that I had and all these good people that were helping me and guiding me, they were really good, but I had my own passion.
Yeah.
So I tried to say to people, you've got to have your own passion because it's your own passion for something that's going to well up into a fountain. It's gonna grow. It's gonna be planted. Your own passion. Don't try and have my passion. Have your own. Your own interest. Your own. And what I see is that what I did before, I can see how crazy it is. Really, is like I've gone out and I've thought, okay, I'll have a bit of time off, and I've ended up in a really bad situation after a few years of being sober, and I've gone back and it had been 2 years, got to a really bad point, and then what do? I come back, and it should be focused on me with no distractions.
No.
Yeah, that's what I should be doing, but that's not what happened. So if I want to see if there's anyone, is that what's got me where I am today is that I didn't have a relationship for months. It wasn't like, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, I stayed away from sex relationships for years, because that would be a lie. But for me, like 9 months was
quite a long time. You're a young man.
Well, that's another story. We ain't got time for that on it.
It'll be the next show.
Yeah, exactly. But no, but there was to cut that out. I didn't work.
Oh, what? So you actually made a vow of celibacy?
Yeah. I did it. Yeah, because I was serious. I wanted to recover.
Right. So you were not messing about.
I'd previously got back, and they'd like, my sponsor would be like, "What are you doing?" I'm like sort of weeks, because I'd flown through the work again.
You're like, hey, I'm back down.
And I've gone and got into a relationship. It's like, really? I see it because I can see it now.
Yeah, but at the time.
This power is saying, I want you to myself.
Yeah.
It says in the big book, God is either everything or else he's nothing. So I was trying to basically negotiate with that. This has worked now when it was 100% everything. And it didn't work because I was trying to put others, like I was saying. So anyone, it's like, because I see it now, I've been trying to help people. I'm always trying to help people. And I see people where I was years ago.
Yeah, excuse me.
And And the biggest thing is that I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. No. You've got to find the power.
Running the show too much, I guess.
Got to find the power. Most would call the power God. I call the power Yahuah, his Heavenly Father's creator's name, the name that has been revealed to me, the name that has given me so much power. Because I was told along the way that the creator's got a personal name.
Yeah.
I said it's one specific name. It's a Hebrew name, Jonathan. You and that planted a seed more than 20 years ago. And I went on a journey because it said God could and would if he was sought. No human power can relieve your addiction, but God could and would if he was sought. So I went seeking over many, many years, and then I got to a point, and then it was like Jehovah, Yahweh, and then it was like I was finding out this Yah, this breath sound.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I just seen it, and it was there in front of me, the name Yahuah.
Yeah.
And it was, I'd already been on the journey where I was seeking. So for me, I was told about that. The seed was planted, and I had no problem because I was always a person that went my own way on the journey. I didn't follow the crowd. And I saw the name, and then I got sent this prayer by him, and I said the prayer on my own. And I was, I was in a room on my own. And after I said this prayer, which was it was a different type of prayer because it was a prayer that was dealing with like binding and rebuking and spirit. It was a highly spiritual prayer. And I said the prayer, and about 3 days later, I was like, wow, what's going on here? I just felt something come over me, and it felt like quite like surreal. It was like... And I realised now that what was happening was that I was receiving the power that in Acts 1, chapter 8, it says you will receive power when the Ruach, when the set-apart spirit comes upon you, and you will be my witnesses here. So all of that learning is that I received after praying his name, whoever so shall call upon the name of Yahuah. Because what it was in the scriptures that his name was removed, 7,000 times, just under 7,000 times, and it was replaced with the title, the Lord, L-O-R-D, the Lord. And so I then thought, well, I'm not going to pray till I'm going to pray to his name.
Yeah.
It's just like me, I know you, hi mate, and I've met you a few times, I call you mate, and we connect and whatnot, but we get closer when I call you by your first name.
Definitely. Yeah, it's natural, isn't it? Yeah.
And so I drew close to him, it says in the big book, and he revealed himself to me.
This is such an amazing
the breath. And he's the breath. I just wanted to get, before I forget, the breath of life. We breathe the name of Yahuah. We absolutely breathe it. It's Yahuah. Every single breath that a human being takes. And this is why he wanted me to know his name. Wow. And that's where my success has really come from. The steps were the stepping stone for me to get to
where you needed
the Creator.
Wow.
And his power has then come, and it's given me, it's free, set me free. I don't
so not only have you got clean and sober, that was just a byproduct. You've got so close to Yahuah that he lives and breathes through you and keeps you safe.
Spirit's in me. Stopped me from smoking. He stopped me from smoking. I like his spirit come upon me, into me, and it was like, you need to stop smoking. Spoke to me. Yeah. And then I was immersed. The immersion was really important because it was part of my spiritual rebirth in water, what you would call baptism, immersion. And from that point, that was in August 2018. I've not smoked. I've not vaped. He just took it away from me.
Wonderful.
Took it away from me. They gave me the power to stop that.
So it really is, for you, it's all power. It powers all aspects of your life.
The power empowers me in everything I do, and it empowers me in...
That's why I can see you. Why would you even consider having a drink or taking a drug if that's going to take you away from this beautiful relationship you have with your Creator? It's madness, isn't it? If you wouldn't consider it. It's not. There's no beer or wine fine enough to tempt you, or drug, probably, compared to spiritual bliss, which I've experienced as well. Yeah, that is the best, most pure buzz you can get, and it doesn't hurt you, and it's everlasting, and it's free. So why would you want an earthly kind of imitator of a spiritual experience when you can have the real thing?
He took it away from me.
Yeah.
Oh, he really has.
Yeah.
I know, like, I'm not being funny, but it was a very, very powerful hit. And there's a little line in the book that says, there was this man, no later vicissitude had shaken this man. He'd had a spiritual awakening. I had a profound spiritual awakening, and he took away the desire.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even think there hasn't been a day in the last 7 years that I've even been close or anything, or even the smoking. In terms of, because they were things that were in my life, my adult life, daily.
Played a big factor, didn't it?
But yeah, smoking, drinking, using, it was, so, and it was really, quite powerful the way it happened, and
Amen, mate. You got it. You got through it, and it's now keeping you safe and protected.
it's exactly that.
Love it, Jonathan. I really appreciated you coming on the show. I think we covered a lot of really interesting ground. I'm looking forward to watching it back as well, because a lot of times when I'm doing the interview, I'm chatting away, but when I see it and I'm like, wow, that was profound, I totally, really get that. So appreciate that. Did you enjoy coming on?
Loved it, mate.
Oh, that's great, man.
Absolutely loved it, and it's great to see you.
Yeah.
Mate, it's been some time, and
Yeah.
it was nice sort of coming and seeing you again, and we're both doing well, and
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me down.
You're welcome,
and,
mate. What we normally do is I come around and give you a hug at the end, and we take a few pictures. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Lids are all on. Yeah. Just have a little photo opportunity. He's almost as handsome as me, isn't he?
Can't tell you apart.